Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Fall Jersey. Joe Archino back here. And the rumors in Cleveland seem to be dying down dramatically after a 140 to 135 overtime win over the Wizards. And look, I think if you had kind of not been watching the Cavaliers for a while and then you went and you watched that game, that was kind of the perfect game to epitomize where the Cavaliers have been this last 2 month stretch or so. It wasn't easy. It took everything in their arsenal. It took LeBron James gutting out every bit of sweat that he had. But ultimately, the greatness of LeBron, Kevin Love, and Kyrie put together was enough to get the victory. And I think it's one of those wins where the timing of it, of course, could not have come any better because we understand, we see the news. Kevin Love obviously has been in the cycle with his name being mentioned with a swap for Carmelo Anthony, but I think obviously after that game, it kind of put that trade rumor to bed, and you understand why. Is Carmelo Anthony a playmaker? He is. Could Carmelo Anthony help a lot of teams? He absolutely can. But would Carmelo Anthony help the Cavaliers more than Kevin Love? And that's where I draw the line. I think emphatically he could not. What Kevin Love brings, you saw in that game. He brings that rebounding ability. He's going to have his games where he can score. And look, we know when you are operating in a big three dynamic, one of the big three is going to take a big drop off. It just happens. Look at a player like Chris Bosh. Now, we all understand Chris Bosh is dealing with a lot of health circumstances right now, but when Chris Bosh was with the Heat, his numbers took a dramatic dip. But you understood when Chris Bosh played an important role in that lineup with his size, with his rebounding ability. And Kevin Love, kind of like Chris Bosh, you know that there were times where their scoring was going to be needed, and it proved the difference. Kevin Love in a game like this. Kevin Love, 39 points in that game, 12 rebounds. Unbelievable. In the finals last season, I think that kind of was the case in point with the timely rebounding. Kevin Love isn't going anywhere. Do I believe that the Cavaliers have had discussions about moving him? Absolutely, because if you're going to move anybody on that team, he's the one you're probably going to be able to move to get the most bang for your buck. But Kevin Love, I think, showed it in this game. They've confirmed it. It's not happening. Now, I think the Cavs obviously will make a small move like they did last season, but saying this team, is in desperate need of a big-time player, I think is wrong. What they need is exactly what they've been talking about, what you've been hearing about. They're most likely going to add another playmaker, another guard, somebody like that from one of these teams in a deal somewhere down the line, and it will pay the difference. But I've always contended that the regular season is just about survival. The regular season means absolutely nothing when you're a veteran like LeBron at this point. And I just read an article today where he talked about his minutes, where he said he's fine, but that's obviously something that's going to be a concern. You do want to watch LeBron's minutes, obviously, because when you're a player like him, you've been to 6 finals in a row. You played more minutes than any other player in the NBA, and it doesn't take a mathematician to understand that. But I think what LeBron has been able to gut out and has been able to endure is nothing short of brilliant, and it just continues to amaze more and more. But LeBron is going to be okay. Kyrie is going to be okay, and Kevin Love is going to be okay. The three of them understand what it takes to win. They did it last season and of course, in the most incredible circumstances, they did it last season. And I just think that adds even more to the three of them understanding how to play with each other. Now, obviously, the bench is going to be another one of those things that comes up, but I just think sometimes with championship teams like this, it doesn't have to be pretty in the regular season. There's going to be stretches like that, but especially in the Eastern Conference where it stands right now, the regular season, it means absolutely nothing. When it comes down to time to it, even in the playoffs these last 2 years, the Cavaliers have walked there. LeBron's 2 easiest paths to the finals ever have been these last 2 seasons. There's just not that major competition, even this year with Isaiah Thomas, with how good he's been for the Celtics, and you could even make a case for some teams like the Raptors have had their moments, the Hawks have had their moments. but there's just no one in the Eastern Conference who's even in the same breath as the Cavaliers, like it's been the last 2 years, and it will be that way this time again. But I think that win against the Wizards was so desperately needed for the Cavaliers, and it said everything about where they have been. It wasn't an easy game, incredibly high scoring. It took overtime to do it, but they did it behind the backs of Love, of Kyrie, and LeBron. And I think the three of them, the way that they continue to play with each other and they adjust to controversy and they adjust to uncertainty, that's going to pay off for them in the end dramatically. Now, I think also you look at Kyle Korver and what he was able to do in this game. 13 points. He had the ball movement was tremendous, and I think a lot of times you'll see with LeBron's teams, even going back to the Heat days, it takes a lot of effort to maintain the level of ball movement and defense that his teams have been able to excel at. The Cavaliers, of course, when they were at their best moving the ball and on defense, it takes a lot of effort to maintain that on a game in, game out basis. Now, you're not going to be able to sustain that through the course of a season. You could get it for stretches, you could get it for certain periods of games, but to sustain that for a season isn't easy. And I think sometimes you fall into a little bit of a lull when it comes to that regard, and when you need it the most, it comes back. I just did a football segment, and I kind of have this philosophy where you don't bet against the great ones when it matters most. You don't want to push the great ones either. And I think LeBron was kind of starting to be in a situation where he was feeling pushed a little bit. And when LeBron feels pushed, LeBron brings his best. And I think this was just another one of those examples where now kind of the media will die down, the Kevin Love trade rumors will die down, if not go away, and everything for the Cavaliers in the end will be fine. But until the next time, Jersey Joe Archino here with the Sports Vault. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Archino and on Instagram, Jersey_Joe_Archino. And I'll catch everybody in the next episode.